school. Thank you. All right. This is the best I can do, I think. Maybe not. Hold up the other way. Up in it.
Good evening, everyone. The meeting will come to order. Let the roll call show that we are missing one board member this evening, Dr. Wendy Barnard. She is taking her son to college tonight. We wish them well in their travels and hope that the drop-off at college goes well. Our first item on the agenda is, of course, approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? No. So the motion carries. We'll move on to Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Settle, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda are approval of the minutes for June 29th, 2022, which was a business meeting, the July 13th, 2022 special board meeting for budget adoption, the July 27th, 2022 board retreat, and we also have revised minutes for a meeting in October, that was October 6th of 2021. Are there any questions or comments from the board regarding the minutes as presented? Okay, with that, I will go ahead and move that we approve the minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion carries. We have now informational reports, starting with a summary of current events. Dr. Jagodinsky, will you please provide us your superintendent summary?
Yes, thank you. Madam President, members of the board, guests. We're off to a great start here in the new school year. I have several things to share with you tonight and wanted to have some pictures for our first day to kind of go with that as well. So first of all, I want to go back to our beginning of the year, professional development. I thought we had a wonderful plan in place. I want to thank Chris Alexander and the committee that he worked with to set that up. We had lots of options for teachers to choose what they wanted to take a look at. We had lots of food throughout the week, which was nice. A special thank you to PTO for assisting with that. And I thought we had a very, very good vibe across the district in our professional development. Our theme this year is high expectations. I presented to the entire staff some information that I believe in, that I think is our vision moving forward. And it was all about being 1% better every day, having high expectations, and just building positivity across the district. So I was very, very pleased with that, and we have some great new staff coming on board, new teachers, and I thought that went very, very well. We had our first day of school yesterday. We've been working really hard to get to this point, and we had a little bit of some roller coaster ride there over the summer with trying to hire and get everyone in place, but I'm very proud of our principals and our administrative team that we were able to find some great people to fill in roles. Here's some pictures of the first day here at McDowell Mountain. This is from their STEM class. You can see on the first day, they're getting after it and having some fun, hands-on activities. Some more pictures from Mr. Wilkinson. This is our middle school, working on labs here. Again, some hands-on activities. This is McDowell Mountain learning about PBIS and what the expectations in the hallways are. I'll talk a little bit more about PBIS later. This is in our cafeteria at McDowell Mountain. And you can see again outside, just learning expectations. So we can have high expectations. We got to know what those expectations are. And the framework of PBIS is unified throughout the district. And we're working on updating some of the language based on the different schools so students can understand that. This is from Dr. Wheeldryer's school, and grow your mindset and a very positive approach to the school year. I saw this in one of the classrooms today, actually, in Ms. Beard's class, and the Falcon Feather Reward, so building off our PBIS initiative. I like that picture there. Val Reichler, after 11 years and moving into administration, kids were very excited to hear the news and see that she's in that role. This is our high school administration. I love that they all got shirts this year. They had a theme themselves, which I love, and this is the whole staff wearing their shirts on the first day of school, and this is them being silly on the first day of school as well. So, very good job for all three of our principals for bringing that positivity. Mr. Hartman has a very nice gesture there in the back next to Coach Bonner. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm very proud of the start of the year. I think they're off to a great start. When we look at PBIS Rewards, that is our new app for 4th through 12th grade. And the elementary K3 is using the app, but not for tracking of points. They're still using the feathers, but they are using it to track major and minor discipline, and then also a positive reward, so they can have some nice data to use in their meetings. At the middle school, give them a shout out. 1,217 points today, which I was blown away by. 709 yesterday. So I thought yesterday was a big day. Today was a bigger day. And they're off and running at the middle school with that. Our high school is, high school takes a little longer. I was a high school principal, and it takes high school a little bit longer to get on it. But they had about 100 points on day one. And Ms. Flowers, who's here tonight, had about 70 of those with her welcome mat outside, and very, very impressed with that. So we have some nice things happening on campus there, and we're excited about that. Another thing I'm very proud of is we've saved music in Fountain Hills this summer. We had a couple resignations we weren't expecting, and finding any teacher this time of year is hard. Finding teachers in general is hard. Finding music teachers is even harder. But I'm very pleased to share with the community that we have James Morales returning to take on the high school band and middle school band. Dr. Wheeldryer's has worked very hard to find a new certified music teacher to come in and do a keyboarding class with our younger students at the middle school. So it'll be a hands-on music course. And we're still working on a few other things, but I'm very, very proud of the fact that we were able to keep our band alive, get them at football games on Friday night, the homecoming parade, and be a part of, hopefully work with the town band as well and keep some of the traditions going. When I shared that out, I did include the 2018 state championship video, which I was there for, and I still get excited when I see the joy on the kids' faces. Let's see here. Enrollment, are we going to come back to that?
You can go over it now. It is in their packet.
Okay, so enrollment's at 1264, which is up. We're up about 50 students. On average, we'll have some 10-day drops coming in throughout the next week or so, but I'm very excited that the high school had a plus 25. They had about 60 new students. So when you take out students who moved or had left the district at the end of May or June, and then you take the new students coming in, we were positive at all three sites. So very excited about enrollment, that it's heading in the right direction. Another thing we're working on, Mr. Hartman and I are putting together a student advisory board. This will be something new that will be a district committee for me. So he's working to get somewhere between 5 and 10 students that will serve an advisory board role. The hope here is to grow leaders among our students, to provide feedback to us so students have a voice on campus. They have the opportunity to share things they'd like to see, things that are working well, things that maybe we need to keep improving on. And I believe that Mr. Hartman will be able to also use that advisory board at his own site with his own initiative. So that will be coming soon, and our hope is that they will be presenting at board meetings soon. So we're very excited about that. Athletics is off and running, and we have, I had them on my notes. I'm gonna have to go on memory here. It's not coming up, but we have volleyball, football, soccer, cross country, and swim. Am I right, Mr. Alexander? Not soccer. Okay, our website said soccer, so I apologize. Some schools have soccer in the fall, but I'm getting too excited for soccer season. But we're off and running. We have good numbers, and we're excited about the upcoming athletic events. We have added some security guards to our staff and our commitment to try to build on safety among our campuses. So we have a plan in place to have 2 security at the high school, 1 at the middle school, and 1 at McDowell Mountain. And that's something new that we have not done this in the past at McDowell Mountain or at the middle school. So we have 3 of those positions filled. We're just waiting on McDowell Mountain, and that is in the interview process and background check and things of that nature. So we're excited about that as well. EVIT is off and running. We have 33 kids going to EVIT, 3 in the morning and 30 in the afternoon. And as a parent of an EVIT student, I could say it's going very, very well. It's exciting to see the campus. They had a parent night last week, and I was able to attend and see the fire science obstacle course and all the different things that they have going on. And we're very excited to grow EVIT. That's a goal of mine, is to grow that program even further. We had coffee with the superintendent this morning. That was our second one since I've come on board. And we had another packed house. It was very nice. We took a lot of great feedback. We had about 7 bulleted items that we need to get back to parents on for our next meeting. Some revolved around school supplies, to our food menus, to just little things, lockers, things we can do a little bit better. So we will work on those, and then 3 weeks from now, we'll have our next coffee session, and we'll have some answers for those and continue to take feedback. All right? With that, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much. You've been exceedingly busy.
Yes.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments for Dr. Jenkins and Steve? Okay, we'll move on to governing board reports, starting with you, Mr. Sarr.
Nothing.
All right, Ms. Reed?
I haven't really done anything, but I just wanted to welcome our teachers back, and I just wanted to tell Dr. Jay and all the administration how proud I am of them, that I've heard great things in the community over the last few days about smiling teachers, happy kids, and it was just really a breath of fresh air to hear this year that the energy that's on campus and the upcoming personnel report. I was ecstatic when I read it, so great job to all of you.
Ms. Rudkowski?
I'll tell you, I am just very happy that some of our students are going to be talking like they're, be executives and stuff. I think that's good because this is also their school. And if they want something nice or good in their school, they can come, they can let them know,
Yeah, the advisory board is a good plan.
Yeah,
For sure.
it is a very good plan.
I also don't have anything to report as far as attending any school activities recently, but I echo your sentiments, Jill, that it's great to have happy families back on campus and teachers excited to work with our students, and it definitely is a wonderful, warm, positive feeling this year. So thank you, Dr. J, for all that you have done to help bring that into our school community. Then we have reports in our packet. The student activity and auxiliary accounts are on pages 31 through 38, and then current enrollment and withdrawal are on pages 39 through 42. Are there any questions or comments regarding either of these reports? All right, seeing none, we will move on to public comments. Krista, do we have any public comment this evening? No, we don't. Okay. So we get to the consent agenda. Starting on page 44, we have the personnel action report. Then payroll vouchers, which are pages 46 through 57. Accounts payable vouchers are pages 58 through 91. The authorization to suspend is on 92. Certified evaluators on page 93. Sole source providers on page 94. And then audit services to Heinfield, Meach & Co. Starts on page 95 and continues when as the board knows, when the board packet was originally published, we just essentially had a cover page on page 95 that was amended today to include the full audit services RFP, so that extends well beyond page 95 currently. Any questions or comments on anything on the consent agenda? Then I will go ahead and move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. No, go ahead.
Second.
Jill gets that second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion passes. Action items is our next agenda item. And we begin with the EVIT intergovernmental agreement. It says in our agenda that it's on page 96, but as I just mentioned, now that we have that full audit services RFP, it's not actually on page 96. I'm not sure what page it's on, but it is in your board packet.
I'm getting
It should still be numbered 96.
True, it'll be numbered 96.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, this is just, I'm sure you have for us, Dr. J, something more to say, but essentially, this is the same intergovernmental agreement that we've approved previously. It's just that periodically it's due for a refresh. I can't remember if it's a 1-year IGA or like a 3-year, is it annually? Yeah, so this is just the annual IGA.
Madam President, members of the board and guests, I concur. This is a pretty standard EVIT agreement. Dr. Wilson sent this over. We had it reviewed by our attorney and looked it over, and we do recommend approval.
Any questions or comments about the IGA? Do we have a motion?
I move that the board approve the EVIT IGA for dual enrollment classes for 22-23 school year.
I will second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on our action items is the FHHS supplemental reading material. Dr. J, do you have any additional background or commentary for us on this?
Madam President, members of the board and guests, this is, these books were submitted prior to my arrival. We have seen the process through. They have been on display for 60 days and we have not received any feedback. And tonight they are presented to you.
Any questions or comments from the board? And I am trying to get to catch up to all my pages. Just a second, and I will. Okay, I recommend that the board approve the 4 novels as supplemental reading material for the high school English classes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? No opposition, the motion passes. Next action item. Facility rental procedure manual. Dr. J, as I understand, this is a modification to the facility rental procedure manual that the board had previously adopted.
That's correct, Madam President, members of the board and guests. We are tonight asking for an update to the facility request to include organizations that we work with as part of our town relationship. Some of the organizations that we do work with currently would not qualify to use our facilities under the first category, which allows them free access depending on what they're doing. And because of our relationship with groups like the Rotary and the Chamber and things of that nature, groups that we work really closely with to help build our schools, provide students opportunities. Many of these organizations also recognize our students and have programs within the schools. So we want to make sure that we are working with our communities, our organizations within the community to build a stronger relationship.
And just for the benefit of the audience, the groups that were already listed in the manual as being able to request rental space for free were the PTO and booster clubs, groups for the school district for professional development, and then the town of Fountain Hills. And the organizations that we are proposing get added are Kiwanis, the Fountain Hills Coalition, Rotary, and Golden Eagle Education Foundation. Any questions or comments from the board?
No, but you said a mouthful.
Let me get back to the top here. So I will go ahead and move that we approve the updates to the FHUSD facility rental manual and fee schedule.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nay votes? No, the motion passes. Back to our action items, we now have this LLC Technology Group. Dr. Jagodzinski?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board and guests. Before you have a recommendation for us to partner with the VIS group and subcontract from that with the FHUSD group for IT services. As I've shared in the past, we are currently on a little bit of life support with technology abilities right now with our staff. And we have moved after the pandemic to even more technology, more emphasis and needs, and with a one-to-one district and several servers, plus I have some big ideas of where we want to go with technology, and we just need additional support. I'm really concerned about, we want to make sure we have the best cybersecurity, the best SIPA compliance, things of that nature, so that our students are safe online and our servers are up and running, our teachers are supported as part of their teaching throughout the day, that they have the ability to call a help desk, to work with a group that can provide that kind of robust experience that we're looking for. With that, you'll see throughout the packet what that all entails, and if you have any further questions, I can answer those for you.
Go ahead.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I just want to commend you for looking outside the box to find alternatives. As Dr. J and I have talked about, sometimes in small businesses, having an in-house department is not always feasible, and finding, outsourcing some of this may actually save us money over time. And so I just commend you for looking outside the box and finding alternatives and still staying on top of it. So thank you very much.
Ditto.
And I'll add additionally that this is part of a one GPA co-op, so that allows us to work a little bit quicker to ensure that we've done our process, but also at the same time meet the needs of our students that is needed now.
No, I think that this is excellent. Like Jill said, thank you for looking outside the box, and in a district of our size, with fluctuating needs at times, it can be easier to outsource certain duties and positions, because it allows us to flex our contract if we need to at times. And I think for us right now, this does make the most sense. And my understanding is that we will actually realize some cost savings this year versus having dedicated in-house headcount.
Yes, Madam President, that is correct. We estimate this year with the attrition in that department, roughly based on, we've had a couple of weeks of a few more staff members at the beginning of the year than we're going to finish up with, but we're estimating roughly around $7,000 savings this year, which would include keeping on our 1.5 employees that we have and allowing them to continue to work as long as they would like to. And then from there, we would reevaluate our needs and see if those positions need to be filled. So there is a potential for even additional future savings down the line.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? All right, do we have a motion?
I move that the board approve the use of VIS LLC FHUSD Technology Group for district-wide technology services.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Our last two action items on the agenda are associated with the Arizona School Boards Association and their upcoming legal conference. So the first one is to appoint a board delegate as well as an alternate for the ASBA Delegate Assembly. I think that we all know who we're going to appoint as our delegate.
Yeah,
I nominate Judy.
I second it.
And I nominate Dana as the alternate.
Oh, really?
You know you'll never need to go.
I
She's
know.
got you.
I know.
All right.
When I'm there, I'm
So
there.
we have a motion for Ms. Redkowski to represent the board as our delegate, with Mr. Saar acting as alternate if needed. Do we have a second?
Second.
Dana seconded.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion passes.
But I would really like to go to the law conference, because it's
I
gonna
know,
all
you do.
come in, it's gonna all come in together.
Yes. And so then we have the ASBA 2022 draft political agenda. So in our board packet, we have multiple pages of what ASBA is presenting as the draft political agenda. It's essentially the same agenda as last year and then redlined with any modifications, which were really, there were a couple additions, but a lot of it was just kind of some wordsmithing to maybe be a little more current with the phrasing for items. Are there any items that we would want added to that for Judy to represent us as a board at the assembly on? I mean, we kind of read through the political agenda previously so that we could vote on what we wanted included. And I felt like the majority of the items that were our top 5, top 7 were represented there in some way or form. So I personally didn't have any additional suggestions or, edits to what's here.
We've been saying the same thing
That was
I know.
for 20 years.
I know.
I've only got 10 years, Dana's got more, but, that we want them to fund schools properly, we want them to fund all-day kindergarten, give more money to CTE, let us handle our things locally,
They're all the same.
Yeah,
Jill has it down.
she does.
I've been saying it for 10 years, Dana's been saying it for 20, so.
All right.
frustrating.
So I will go ahead and, what is our actual wording on this page? I think it's that we take action, we appointed the representative, may consider action to approve. Okay, I move that we approve the Arizona School Boards Association's draft 2022 political agenda and direct our delegate to the assembly to represent our determined position.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. That was our last action item. We now move on to information and discussion items, starting with ESI purchases over 100,000. What do you have for us, Dr. J?
Madam President, members of the board and guests, we've been researching our partnership with ESI. ESI is who we use for our substitutes and to help us, work through those. Subs are hard to find, so we want to make sure our substitutes, our guest teachers always feel highly respected, valued, and make sure that we can retain them and attract as many people as we can to take on sub positions. After researching and looking over time, the question we wanted to see is have we seen an increase recently, looking over the last 4 years? And if you look at the data that you have in your packet, in 2018, 2019, so prior to the pandemic, our total bill for smart schools, which is what we used back then instead of ESI, was $200,658.02 for that fiscal year. For 2019-2020, that number jumped up to $229,072.03. And then as the pandemic began at the end of that school year into 2021, it actually dropped significantly down to $150,068.43. And moving into this past school year, which was no virtual time to my understanding, it was all in person, it jumped back up to $217,689.52. So we are seeing some consistency with the exception of the pandemic year, which may have given people additional opportunities. There was also in a lot of districts where you had additional sick leave that was granted that maybe did not come out of your bank, so that might be part of the reason why there was a drop there. But we've seen some pretty consistent data across the board.
And so the request here is that associated with the fact that right now for ESI, I believe our purchase order is approved for, is it like 90,000? And obviously we're consistently seeing that we're exceeding the 90,000. And so what is the request? Is it just kind of like a open-ended, anything over 100,000 is okay? Or are we going to talk about having the board approve, because it's not today, we're just discussing, but in a future meeting, approve like up to 200,000 or 225,000. I want to not kind of issue a blank check.
Right, no.
And say anything over 100,000 is just fine. The board doesn't need to know.
No, the board does need to
The
know.
board does need to know.
When does our contract expire with ESI?
It would be at the end of this year. It's a yearly agreement with them. So it'd be at the end of this school year.
Did that come to the board for?
It did.
It did.
It did.
Interesting, I don't remember that, but okay, losing my mind.
I think we just saw the terms of the agreement
Just
itself.
the agreement.
we didn't
You
see,
approve
like-
the $8 amount.
Right,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
So, when it was smart schools, it wasn't a yearly thing, we actually would approve it for 3 to 5 years, so, when they changed the ESI, maybe that changed, but.
I think the goal here is to start the discussion of, is this where we want to go? Do we want to stick with an outside group that manages this? Is it something that we want to take on? Do we want to look at other opportunities, what's out there? So that's, I think, where we're headed now, is looking at the data. We're seeing we're consistently at around 200 to 225,000, depending on the year. We have, we have shrunk a little bit over that time period, so we might see a little bit decrease this year, but these numbers have been very consistent.
Well, and I'll just give you a little history on why we use ESI, for anyone who's interested, or why we use smart schools. We've always used smart schools to retain employees who were able to retire, but were really too young to actually leave the workforce. So what they do is they retire, and if you have a government job, you're not supposed to work in a government position again for a year. And so what they do is then they work through a private company and they're able to become basically like a subcontractor and they come back. And so, we've retained some really great administrators from that. We've retained great teachers from that. And there's nothing illegal about it. It's just they actually work for a private company and then we retain them back as teachers. But a few years ago, the state decided that substitutes would also start collecting paid time off, which is a weird thing. Like, why is your substitute getting paid time off? And so we had to figure out a way to start accruing paid time off for substitutes, and it was kind of a nightmare for like our human resource payroll area and stuff. So that's where more of the substitutes then went into the ESI, because ESI then would keep track of how long your substitute worked and how much paid time off they actually get. And so even if a substitute only works for us 1 day out of a year, they accumulate paid time off, which then we have to pay. So it's an odd thing. So,
as they work across potentially multiple districts, each
Right.
district owes them a fraction of
paid time off.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing, is that if you have a way, Dr. J, that you think is feasible, obviously there are teachers that retire that we would like to retain. So that's a big thing there. But the second part is, who's going to calculate this paid time off and keep track of it for our district? Like, is that just too overwhelming right now?
I would say today, yes. In the future, possibility. That's why right now we've been consistent with ESI for the past 4 years. It has been a pretty strong partnership. So I think we're just looking at as many ways we can to be fiscally responsible, save money, look outside the box, look for different ways to grow our district and put money back where we want to put that, which is in salaries for teachers and take care of our staff. So I think we're just starting that discussion now. We'll continue to do more research. We can bring additional information to you. We can have our finance team run some information, some simulation on what it would look like for us to do that. And we can put a bigger presentation back to you. We just wanted to present. The question was asked of where we've been, and I wanted to share that with you tonight, that we have been consistent with the exception of the pandemic year.
And, are there other companies out there that provide this service? For the 10 years I've been on the board, we've always been with Smart Schools, which then transitioned into ESI. So that would be another thing, is, are they really the only provider, or, are there other options, and who's the most economical but still highly trained in doing this?
Yeah, and I think, just looking at the aggregate numbers here, and I certainly don't want to send anybody down a rabbit hole to, you know, try to get a whole bunch of information just to satisfy my curiosity, but when I look at, you know, 217,000 one year versus 229,000, that doesn't really tell me what that head count was, right? How many teachers was that, and is any of that associated with potentially positions that are paid at a higher, you know, daily rate because it's like a hard to fill position, right? And then if we were, I assume since ESI is doing this additional administration for us, do we get any kind of visibility or breakdown into what the sub really gets versus what portion of what we're being charged is that administrative cost for the service?
We can definitely put together a presentation and bring that back to you.
There's a lot of questions for there.
Right, any other questions or comments on this?
No.
Okay, thank you. We now have, as our next information and discussion items, Facilities Use Advisory Committee. Some people might be like, why is this circling back around? Because we still have facilities and we still need to decide how they're going to be utilized. Dr. J, do you want to give us some additional background?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board and guests, we want to expand on what the work that had been done in the previous school year, looking at the possibility of the future and with the possibility of consolidation. What do we do now with the buildings that are possibly vacant? So starting with our primary focus would be right now is to focus on Four Peaks and to look at our current Biz Hub situation. I've been doing a lot of research on that. When I've had some additional time between tasks, I've met with different groups that have been a part of that since the beginning. And I think it's really important for us to be transparent with our stakeholders about here's what we have happening at Four Peaks. Here's the potential. Here's the risks. Here's the building issues that come with that. And so we just want to get back into a room with our stakeholders and start having a discussion of what can we do, what are the things that we have to think about, and are we being, again, fiscally responsible in the way that we do things. So that's really where we're at, and then the hope would be if consolidation does end up happening, we could then continue that conversation with McDowell Mountain and take a look at what are some options that we have there as well.
The renters that are in Four Peaks right now, are they, I know they have leases, are they all kind of on the same timeline for their lease? Do their leases expire different times?
They do expire at different times.
Do we have
So
anyone,
They start their lease.
I'm sorry?
I believe KDA was our last one, and I believe their lease might have started June 1st or right around there.
Do we have anybody that is expiring soon?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another discussion that we need to have is if we're going to continue that, we need to give them notice whether we are or not to be good stewards to them and make sure that they're prepared for their business and what we plan to do. Right now, we, as Krista mentioned, that we have a group in there till June. So we want to start having those discussions now so we can let our renters know that yes, one, we are going to renew you, or two, we are not, or the other option is we really need to look at the rent as well. Things have changed a little bit, costs have gone up, and we may need to adjust the rent as well.
Yes, there's some chatter out there that one tenant has already been told about a huge rent increase. So we definitely need to have that conversation sooner rather than later because the chatter started.
Okay.
Sorry, my mic wasn't on. Any other questions or comments? So basically, this discussion is presenting the idea that we would, in a future meeting, again, have an action item for the board to approve a facilities use advisory committee that would cover some of the points that Dr. J has raised. I know that another item that we had discussed is associated with the fact that if the district does proceed with the consolidation, we may have to look at a different location for district administration to be housed, because if we were truly to have two separate campuses on the high school campus, There isn't really space in the high school administration building for the middle school administration to be. And so then where do they go?
So on the layout, that the facilities use committee presented, the middle school administration is actually in the district office building.
Right.
Dr. J and I have had that conversation. It's a tight squeeze.
Yes.
And not only that, we certainly want parents to be able to come onto campus and not feel like they're kind of in no man's land, like, you know, that you have to come through the district office, and we want them to feel like it's their school. So,
Yes.
yeah, there's definitely some conversation that needs to probably happen regarding especially that area.
Yes, Mr. Sir.
Well, years ago, where the Boys and Girls Club is currently located, that was our administration
Right.
office. But that was moved here when we had the high school opening, so it's not like it was not working then. But we do have the ability, we still own that building, and it is under a lease. So in a case, which I'm not saying would even come close, we do have some options off campus.
But that's all things that we can assign to the
Committee.
facility, refreshed facilities committee to
Which is
look at and
Still a
provide
board,
us some advice on.
still a board appointed committee.
Yes, 100%. Okay. I don't think we have anything else on that topic at this time, so we will look to see that as an action item on a future agenda. The last one that we have here as a information discussion item is long-term substitute pay. Dr. J?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board and guests, we are starting to do a deep dive into our long-term sub pay and additionally look at sub pay in general as well. But right now, our focus is on our long-term sub pay as we are seeing more and more hard to fill positions, I've had to make a lot of calls to people who are retired and say, could you come back, can you help us out? And so we just want to make sure that our commitment to our kids and to our families is that we have high expectations. And if we have high expectations, we have to have the best people in classrooms, the best people working with our kids. And in order to do that, we also have to compensate them accordingly. So we are just starting the process, working with our finance team, because there are a lot of factors that come into this. When you raise sub pay, it does have an effect on, for example, when employees retire, how they're paid out is tied to that. Also looking at, looking back over 3 or 4 years and gathering data and seeing what kind of impact that would have on our budget. And we want to make sure that we don't overextend that, but at the same time, I have a vision that, substitute teachers say Fountain Hill's where we want to be. They have great teachers, supportive families, they pay well, and they treat everyone with respect, and it's a great place to be. So we're just starting that process. We don't have an exact number to share at this time, but I wanted to let you know that we are looking at a few different models, and we would then present those models, show you the impact down the road of what that has on our immediate budget, future budgets, and then also on our retirees as they would retire out.
I think, as we all know, pay is important to people when they're looking at jobs, and just as we have to be competitive with other districts for permanent positions, we also have to be competitive for substitute positions. Obviously, even with the best planning and great full-time staff, there's going to be instances where you need a substitute for something, and we don't want to have it be just whatever warm body can come and take the position. We want it to be an excellent teacher that's in front of a classroom with our children.
Yes, and we have a few right now filling in for us that fit that exact. They're excellent, they're very trusted in the community, they have had a long history in our community, and it's easy to call them back, and we just want to make sure that we also are showing that we're growing with the cost that people are having right now. We want to make sure that we're meeting that. And there hasn't been a lot of movement in sub-pay in a while, so it's something that we do need to address. We're going to start with long-term because, again, those are the ones that we're really in a bind and we want to get the best person in there, because that could be for a semester, it could be for a year. We want to make sure we get the best people, and then we will also, during that time, take a look at day-to-day sub-rate and see how we can continue to build that pool of substitutes in our district.
And any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay. Thanks for that heads up, and we'll look for more information on an upcoming agenda. Future action, if you would like to see an item appear on a future board agenda, please reach out to Krista. Dates of upcoming meetings: on Wednesday, August 24th, 2022, we have a work study session starting at 5 p.m. and Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, we have a business meeting at 6 p.m. Both of those meetings will be here in the FHUSD Learning Center. And with that, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries and we adjourn. Thank you.
If there is a problem with what we put in this, one option is our using the L1 for fees. Might be some leases